Welcome, everyone. Before we begin, I'd like to welcome in the Narragansett Fire Department. Please rise to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome again, everyone. Tonight, the first order of business is the approval of the minutes for the February 6, 2014 work session meeting. Someone like to make that? Second. All in favor? Aye. The first item in announcements and presentation is the formal swearing in of the newly hired and promoted personnel in the fire department. I'd like to welcome Chief Partington to the podium.
I'd like to thank you, Council President, Council members, the staff, and all those who are in attendance tonight, the guests, and especially Aubrey's family. If I could have Aubrey Blanchette come forward, please. On behalf of the Narragansett Fire Department, I would like to thank all of you for the opportunity to formally swear in what is our newest member to enter into the permanent ranks of the Narragansett Fire Department, Aubrey Blanchette. To us, it has some special significance in that it's the first time in the history of the Narragansett Fire Department that a female has been able to clear the hiring hurdles and reach the final status, well, what is currently now Firefighter First Class Aubrey Blanchette. It's no easy task in an occupation where women make up just 3.4% of the firefighters in this country. Special significance to us, but if you were to ask Aubrey, not so significant to her. She just believes it's another firefighter, and it's a testament to her character, who she is, and what she stands for. Just another firefighter, one of the crew, just trying to do the job. I know from my own experiences that the last thing you're concerned with in a stressful situation is really your crew member's gender. You just don't have any time to consider it and even think of it. You're just trying to make a wrong thing right, or at the very least, trying to prevent it from getting any worse. So who cares anyway? A fire, a heart attack, doesn't care if you're a man or woman. We all look the same anyway, dressed in our turnout gear with our air tanks on and our face masks. It's one of the reasons why we actually have our names and our roll call numbers on our turnout gear, so we can tell ourselves apart at an incident. The public just wants to have the trust in their local department and the government that will be able to hire the strong, fit, smart, highly trained and motivated men and women who can get the job done. All it takes is just one fire, so we have to be ready. We all have to be able to climb ladders, pull ceilings, open walls and floors, stretch large, heavy hose, open roofs. We have to do a lot of things that are heavy, require lifting a lot of heavy things while wearing a lot of heavy stuff. Aubrey Blanchette Blanchette has proven that she has been capable of doing that. We need to be able to match our performance with the level of emergency, and that's what Aubrey has been able to do. A few things about Aubrey. Aubrey was born and raised in Warwick, Rhode Island, where she became interested in the fire service through friends with the fire department, through friends of Warwick Fire Department. She currently resides in South Kingstown. She's a former volunteer for the Moosup Valley Fire Department in Foster, Rhode Island. She previously worked as an EMT for a private ambulance company and she's a licensed EMT cardiac in the state of Rhode Island. Every firefighter hired by this department is required to go through a 12-month probationary period. Aubrey was no exception, and we often refer to them affectionately, of course, as probies. Aubrey's training incorporated a recruit training which lasted 18 weeks and consisted of things like firefighter level 1, firefighter level 2, hazardous materials operations, pump operator, and basic confined space awareness training. In addition to, and Aubrey can testify to this, daily physical training and group dynamic and team building skills that she was involved in. This training incorporated some live burning exercises. She went through quite a bit of evolutions of interior searches, fire attack, ground ladders, roof ventilations, and a whole bunch of evolutions of vent entering and searching the fire-burned buildings. It was the same training required of her male counterparts. Firefighter Blanchette has proved competency and successfully completed her training. She has recently served out her probationary period, several months of which, as I might add, my chauffeur on Engine 1 prior to my appointment to the fire chief. And she survived that. So I would like to present her to you for formal recognition to be sworn in as this town's newest firefighter, permanent firefighter. So if I could ask Town Council President to come down.
Please raise your right hand. I
Aubrey Blanchette,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to uphold the Constitution
to uphold the Constitution
of the United States,
of the United States,
the general laws of the state of Rhode Island,
the general laws of the state of Rhode Island,
and the charter
and the charter
and ordinances
and ordinances
of the town of Narragansett,
of the town of Narragansett,
and to faithfully serve
and to faithfully serve
as a firefighter first class
as a firefighter first class
on the Narragansett Fire Department
on the Narragansett Fire Department
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
If I could ask Aubrey's family member, or members, I believe we have this evening, come up and pin her badge on her. Yep, go ahead. This concludes this promotional ceremony, a historic one for us here in Narragansett. So I'd like to again thank you, the council, council president, the members, all those in attendance, for allowing us to recognize this special moment in our newest member. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. At this time, we'll take a short break to congratulate firefighter first class Blanchette. We'll be back in about 5 minutes. I'd like to invite Sally Latimer to the podium for a fundraising update on the water tower.
I've been told that spring is coming. I'm Sally Latimer of Lewis Sherry Cottage on Cantera Green, 59 Gibson Avenue, and I wish to report to you tonight the status of the Earls Court Water Tower restoration. Narragansett, the wonderful, melodious name. Once upon a time, Narragansett by the sea was a gentle, pristine landscape of farms and agriculture. When the beautiful beach and delightful climate of Narragansett became widely known through national news articles, illustrated magazines, and photography, the well-traveled, rich and famous arrived. Narragansett by the sea entered its golden age. World-class architects of the mid-19th century also came and left their impressive mark of magnificent castle-like images with towers and turrets. As you can see, with iconic structures like the Narragansett Towers and Casino, a one-of-a-kind U.S. Coast Guard station, and the unique Earls Court Water Tower. Narragansett attracted internationally known photographers who came to document the enchanting Victorian structure, like the water tower that Mr. Edward Earl had built to supply his villas on Earls Court Road. Narragansett did not have town water at the time. And even the prestigious Scientific American magazine featured on its cover, March 1887, an artist's concept of what the tower would be by the Constable Brothers architects of New York. Photographers were plentiful and leaving their mark by producing hundreds of postcards of Narragansett's charm. It was one of the most documented resorts in America. The tower, looking west, across from Earls Court Road to the Sherry Cottages in the background on Cantera Green. What's notable is the wooden carved griffin with a wingspan of over 20 feet facing the ocean. Earls Court Villa and Water Tower looking east from the Cantera Green property. Note on the right-hand side, poking up, is the Joseph Peace Hazard Memorial Tower, built in 1846 on his seaside farm. The fire of 1912 destroyed two of Mr. Earl's villas, as well as the Sherry Cottage and 3 cottages on Cantera Green where the fire had started. When the town water became available to all of Narragansett, the beautiful wooden castle-like housing atop of the stone base on Earls Court Road ceased to be needed in the 20th century. The tank remained empty of water for years. In the gale of 1928, the ornate structure was heavily damaged and was taken down. Only the granite stone has remained and was deeded over to the town in 1999. It's been recognized as historically significant and was given the honor of being listed in 1982 on the register of the National Historic Places. Narragansett Town Council responded to my request of restoring the towers with this resolution. A resolution was adopted just a year ago, 7th of January, 2013, to carry out a fundraising program for the reconstruction of the Earl's Court Tower for educational and tourism purposes. It has recently gained support from our Narragansett Superintendent of Schools, Mrs. Stapala, Middlebridge Private School at Hazard Castle. The headmaster is John Kaufman, and the newly opened Montessori Quest School, the headmaster, Paul Raymond. We go to the highlights of 2013, and this is why I'm here tonight, to report to you what we've done. February was the fundraising formed committee. March was, we requested money from the Paul Mitchell Corporation with the assistance of Mr. Briggs, and we met with the Historic District Commission to solicit support and assist. May, well, you can read the different things that we've done, May, July, but September, we organized a big event on Earl's Court Road. It was the 28th anniversary, 125th anniversary of Narragansett, as well as the tower. And over 130 people of all ages. Well, the event was well publicized, and our wonderful Rhode Island cartoonist, Don Bosquet, helped us get the word out for a jubilee to the public with his humor by providing a clever cartoon, and it was distributed throughout South County. The event was well publicized with articles from the local papers, and the wonderful Public Works dressed the water tower in patriotic colors with buntings and banners, and a colossal American flag was loaned by Mark Hensa, a neighbor on Gibson Avenue. Over 130 people responded to our invitation to come, of all ages and from different towns, and they came to listen to the presentation, which was given by the new elected town council president, James Callahan, when receiving the first restoration donation from the John Paul Mitchell Corporation of $10,000 through Mr. James Briggs, and honoring Mr. Briggs, a World War II veteran, and it was his 90th birthday. In celebration, the attendees came dressed at our request in colors of red, white, and blue to be part of the Don Bosquet and his son Nate's aerial photography, documenting this historic occasion by forming the 125th at the base of the granite tower. Don and his son, Nate, flew their amazing model airplane above the crowd and capturing the scene below. We have the photography plane captured the scene below, and we sold as a fundraising part of it to buy the photographs, and we had many people sign up for that. The 125th Jubilee was a great success. Now to continue with our 2013 highlights. Well, We had the Jubilee. We had the Historic District Commission drafted a grant for $5,000. And December, we had the Gibson Avenue Association donated $500. We, the ad hoc committee was formed and named, we took it from Don Bosquet's cartoon, Griffins Are Us. And it's our motto. But we continue to work on these future tasks of fundraising committee to generate formal programs and solicitation for grants. We're going to draft up different, let's see, our promotional documents are for distribution and special events with potential donors. And we will continue to fundraise and hopefully get to phase 1 of the tower rehabilitation and secure the town's authorization to initiate construction. So we'll be meeting again. But the ad hoc committee adopted the name Griffins Are Us because the griffin was very important to Mr. Earl. And because griffins are known for guarding treasures and priceless possessions, and the restoring of the historic icon has given spirit to this community. And we're actively engaged in this pursuit. Don Bosquet and his son, Nate, plan to record the ongoing progress of the restoration when it occurs, and their breathtaking photographic images, along with vintage illustrations and the spoken word, will be used to educate and inform those who come to the tower and stand on the balcony, and they can see why Narragansett was called the Gilded. It will be a special, spectacular experience. We plan to get e-tablets of some sort to be used for this special treat for those who come to visit. And the tower balcony will provide this outstanding history lesson from the picturesque view of Narragansett by the sea. I want to thank you very much for this opportunity to be part of this historic restoration. And hopefully, you've been very kind and very supportive, and I hope that this will continue. I especially want to extend my appreciation to the town manager, Pam Nolan, and Mr. DeLuca, and the Historic District Commission for their help and support. We could not have gotten to the point where we are today if it had not been for them. And it's nice that the architect, David Presby, and his firm, who were they very generously spent much time studying, calculating, and composing this special rendering for the concept needed for this restoration. And Mr. Presby is here tonight, and I thank him for getting us to this point in time. Now, Mr. DeLuca will explain the details and answer any of your queries. And again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Council President, the last panel is the one you see on the screen right now, is a graphic done by David Presby. He's a resident of Narragansett, a licensed architect, and a member of our Historic District Commission. And what I would like to do is spend about 30 seconds just going over it. As you know,
What we have on Earls Court right now is the picture you see on the far left, the tower with no cap on it, and that's been sitting there for over 80 years. It is showing some weather. Option one would be, if we wanted to just put a simple cap on the top of it, would be that second picture from the left. It would obviously provide a finished look as well as to protect the structure from the ravages of the weather. Option two is the one in the middle, and it would replicate the balcony or the observation deck that was on the original water tower with a somewhat modest central tower. Option three is the latter two photographs to the right. Those are the same option, just two different angles. And that would be a full reconstruction with the Castle Lake structure in the middle, a full tower up to, I believe, 79 feet, and obviously the griffin for which this tower became so well known. So as Mrs. Latimer goes forward, she'll be trying to fundraise enough money to redevelop the full-scale rebuild. But if not, we do have a couple options available to us. So that ends my part of the presentation. If you have any questions for me or for Mrs. Latimer, we're here to answer them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Latimer. Glad you could make it out tonight. Next item is the open forum. Please state your name and address upon approach. Mr. Miller.
John Miller from Central Street. A couple of items I'd like to talk about. First, I remember talking to John Hickey about 15 years ago about the traffic on Mumford Road. I was concerned then because there were a lot of cars racing down there next to the elementary school, and he agreed that that was something that had to be done about that. Now, at the last meeting you had on the bike path, the woman who lives on is it Riverside Street was concerned about the fact that that traffic and also the fact that the intersection with the bike path would complicate things further. My attitude on that is that you look at the route of the existing bike path now, and it goes through the center of Peacedale, and they have all kinds of arrangements there for stop signs and make people, there are a lot of traffic there. And I can't see any reason why you couldn't do the same thing here with traffic bumps and signs. And it's something that should have been done with the schools anyway. You not only have the schools there, but the kids play outside. The second item I wanted to talk about was I thought the meeting that Pam put on with the URI people was very well done. And one thing that was missing for me was, and the lawyer for URI, I think he was Mr. Sakosha or something like that, mentioned, why don't you do something with the landlords? And that's been my attitude for a long, long time. The landlords participate in this problem, and they should help solve it. And the best way to stop the problems we have with the rentals is to get them involved. That is something I think you could do very well in the future, and I'm glad you're proceeding on both the bike path and solving that problem. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Mr. Wojciechowski.
Stan Wojciechowski, Narragansett. I was reading the paper. Sometimes I shouldn't read the paper. Sometimes it gets me upset here. Where homestead exemption is proposed again. Finance Committee is looking at rehashing this. We already did this a few years back, and it says here that a lot of people who get money don't need it. Glazer said in 2007, we're taking a pool of money from one group and giving it to another. We have no justification for that. Obviously, after looking at it, that's not the way to go. Here we are looking at landlords, these terrible people who bought places in East Look and all over town, baby boomer types. Now these baby boomers are going to come and live here. Okay? When they come and live here, we're going to give them a break because they're going to be residents. They caused us trouble for 30 years, and we're going to let them come here and get a break. Doesn't sound good. We're going to give people on Ocean Road, multi-million-dollar houses, they're going to get a break with this Homestead Act. Or if not, then we're going to have, well, what's the limits? Totally ridiculous issue, you know. And then now we're going to have to hire a staff member to go and throughout the whole town figure out who's an owner, who's not an owner, how much is that place worth, should we tax them, should we not? The whole thing obviously is bogus, shouldn't be done. The Finance Committee needs some direction here. Now I want to commend them for discovering this $80 million pension issue. Done a fantastic job bringing it up with the professor. But they need to carry that forward. From identification, we need to have some solutions. What are the solutions to get rid of this $80 million problem instead of rehashing tax? I brought it before many times, hiring freeze. Let them look at what positions can we institute a hiring freeze to save money, to get money brought up here, to help this pension problem, $80 million. A small businessman told me outside, he says, Stan, you're missing the whole point. We need a spending freeze. What do you mean, spending freeze? We have to go back and look through, let's say, our planned spending expenditures. Are they really needed? Finance Committee is a place to do that. These people need to go line by line and find and identify all the spending issues that don't have to be done. That's what I want them to do. Never mind, it's the Homestead Act. You know, I like this Finance Committee also. I want to tell me how much money we're going to save. Well, how are we going to save if we just stop doing a pension plan? I brought that up before. The town, I don't believe the town should be in a pension business. When you've lost $80 million, it's a failure, out of business. Gone, no more. All the new hires don't need to be on it. We need to have them do their own IRA. Hey, your new employees, you're gonna get your money. You invested in an IRA, and you don't have to worry about the town not having the money to pay you. Therefore, we don't have to administer any pension plan for them. They'll do their own. And what the Finance Committee can do...
Mr. Wojciechowski, your time's up.
4 times a year, the Finance Committee can go and say, we're going to instruct these employees on how to deal with an IRA. That's what the Finance Committee should do. Help the employees to take care of their own money.
Mr. Wojciechowski,
you know?
if anyone knows the rules,
portfolio.
If anyone knows the rules, it's
the
you.
Finance Committee needs to go and say, the broker that's handling this, I heard Nyhart says 7.5% interest. It's not happening. The 7.5%, that just doesn't happen. Now, he's only getting 7.5% interest.
Mr. Wojciechowski, your time's
URI students. URI students are getting 9.5% return on the money. We need to team up with URI and their students so our pension plan, or the remnants of our pension plan, can give us 9.5%. This is what the Finance Committee should do. And I have a list of other things, and I'll send you a letter to the editor. I'll try to identify, since I can't talk anymore. I've done as fast as I can. But there's a lot of areas that they can affect a positive change from a financial perspective that could help you rather than this Homestead thing. Thank you very much. Sorry about that. I'll try not to do that again.
Mr. Alba.
Al Alba, 24 Eagles Nest Terrace. Well, I am for the Homestead Act. And the reason for that is that we can keep the people here instead of having them go to Florida and not pay any taxes here. If you have the Homestead Act, then they have to pay taxes here. So this way here, that would be a good thing. Another thing is that I just come across this article I had for the town managers. And I think that instead of having one or two person vote against the person, it has to be a unanimous decision. This way we won't go switching town managers every other year, which costs the town a bundle of money. And as far as raising money, like they said, for the towers there, well, we can raise money to put a pier in. Actually, that's what the name Narragansett Pier means. So we have no pier, and if you have a Narragansett Pier, we'll have a town too. So we have to come some way of getting a town back in here, like it used to be somewhat, and extend the tourist season, not just for 2 months, but into the winter time when you have an ice skating rink, which would be a great thing for the town. And like I say, if they can get money for the towers and stuff like that, we can get money for the ice skating rink somehow. Maybe Gilbane can donate a whole bundle of money, since all his apartments are all rented now in the town, or sold, whatever he does with them. But all I know is that he should be able to donate quite a bit of money towards an ice skating ring. Thank you.
Thank you. Professor Mangermish.
Yeah, just briefly, the Economic Development Committee was the group that asked for the homestead change, and also for the change in the business valuation at 150%. And they requested to be heard by the Finance Committee, which made no position at all on either issue. So I think you just might want to, the focal point is the Economic Development Committee, not the Finance Committee. But I do agree with Stanley on the issue of new hires. It is absolutely essential that all new hires go on a defined contribution plan, which has certain pluses. It isn't all bad. A defined contribution plan is the employees. It can be rolled over. It can be transferred to a new employer. And more importantly, it's part of the employer's personal estate. A town pension plan, the person may have put a lot of money in, look good, but if the person were to die on the job, it's gone. And that is not true for a defined contribution plan. This is the way the state is going. This is the way the federal government is going. And we would go this way, except it fractures the union membership into people with a defined benefit plan, which we can no longer sustain, and a defined contribution plan. And with our long history of being chums, we must all be chums, we must all have the same goodies. This is really stopping us from getting into a prime solution to our pension problem, and that is what everybody else is doing. Defined contribution plans for new employees.
Thank you. Ms. Rogers.
Hi. After listening to Mrs. Latimer's presentation, I'm going to violate my own rule of opening your mouth and, you know, making yourself sound like foolish. But I'm just wondering if it's feasible for you to consider putting in your tax bills this year, maybe a little contribution box that people could check to donate $1 or $2 to build that beautiful, rebuild the Earl's Court Tower. I don't know if that's legal, but I know our tax dollars just built a beautiful new roof on our big towers. And so many people love historic preservation. It would be a voluntary thing. The town owns it. It's an asset. So if people wanted to donate $1 or $2, if the town could maybe think about collecting the money, then I think that would be a really cool thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Back right. Mr. Beck.
Greg Beck, 45 Pleasant Avenue. Just a couple of things on the URI stuff. We always seem to blame the kids. It's always the URI kids. It's always their fault. Well, during the summertime, we have a large flow of people that come to town. It seems like we never say anything about those people. The town is always overloaded. We can't get out of the town during the summertime at certain hours of the day. You can't drive up Boston Neck Road. You can't drive down Point Judith Road. Nobody ever complains about that. Late at night, there's parties in the backyards going crazy, whatever. Nobody ever complains about that. The thing we need to change, sometimes look at Narragansett itself needs to look at themselves. Maybe, are we to blame as a community? Go down and look at where Black Point Restaurant used to be, the Fleece Road, I think it's called. The guy that Joe Malacone Jr. used to own Black Point Restaurant. He tore it down and built 3 or 4 houses. They look like part of URI. They're 3-story houses, and they're filled with college kids. The town allowed him to build it. The guy was smart. They've got to have like maybe 5 to 8 bedrooms in each one. You go down there and look. All the town asks for is to have a driveway for every car to park in. So you go down there. The kids are living there. There's got to be 10 cars at each house. So there's 30 cars at these 3 houses. So if they all have a friend, you guys can do the math. How many cars are going to be there? So the town has allowed this to happen. So we're partly to blame for all these URI problems. All right, during the summertime, we have the ozone alert. So everybody has free Riptor. So now we go down to Scarborough Beach. The police chief might be able to testify, help me with this, back this up. They have a problem. All the kids come down, the gangs come down from the city because they can get on a Riptor bus free. The Narragansett police are down there quite a bit. The rescues are down there quite a bit. A lot of people getting hurt. Nobody ever says anything about that. But all we do is keep hammering these URI kids. I know we have a problem. I'm not saying we don't. The town manager is doing a great job working with URI. But as parents, before you blame a school teacher, look at yourself first before we always point the finger. And that's what it seems like we're doing at URI. We're blaming all these 5,000, 6,000 kids. Let's look at ourselves. Do we have the right rules into place? Like I said, Joe Malacone tore his restaurant down and built these structures down at D for Fleece Road. Go take a look at them. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Shebshelowitz.
Piggyback on to what the former gentleman just said. I'm really concerned about the culture of the town, as Chief Hoxie had spoken about it at the URI meeting. And I've got concerns about the legacy that we are allowing to continue in this town. And the quality of life of the residents who have been here for a while and don't own a restaurant or a tourist or a realty business. And there are landowners who rent out, and there are a lot of realtors who benefit greatly by renting out to students and tourists. And a lot of the focus of the town, in many ways, seems to be on that. And I'm concerned just about the quality of life as I get older. And what supports are there for seniors, for citizens, for families. None of my children live in town. None of my grandchildren live in town. It's gotten to be a divided community in many ways, the haves and the have-nots. And it's sort of a sad, just vision of what the town could be, should be. I participated in quite a number of strategic planning activities over my years, both in the school departments in Pennsylvania and here and in other leadership things. And I think it sort of behooves us to take a self-inventory about what is going on in the town and in what direction we want to go in. And if we want to continue, you know, I attended the meeting, and it's very nice that URI came over to speak. But I was struck by Dr. Dugan's comment in the paper that it's been their policy that once the students move off campus, they're sort of out of their jurisdiction. I don't like that. There is a legal term for colleges when they assume, like, sort of in loco parentis or something like that, when they assume responsibility or some of the roles that the parents might normally have. And I just think the town has to really look closely on where it's going and where it continues to go. Thank you. Just
Thank you.
made it.
You just made it, exactly. Thank you. At this point, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Mr. McLaughlin, I'd like to remove 2 items, I believe. Number 4 and number 6. Number 4 and number 6. Motion to approve the consent agenda accepting numbers 4 and 6.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Number 4, a motion to approve the purchase of 3 single-use GIS software licenses, 6 annual maintenance licenses for existing GIS software, and 6 annual maintenance licenses for existing ArcPad GIS software from Environmental Systems Research, ESRI, in the amount of $8,950.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
Discussion?
I have a question, the manager. I read the explanation, and I don't quite understand that. If you could explain it to me, please.
That is our usual yearly maintenance agreement that we make with the company that provides our GIS software. Mr. DeLuca is here. Is there anything else that I should add, Mr. DeLuca?
No.
That would make this?
You're adding stations, the way I read it, to the Public Works Department, and maybe one more station to Mike's office. I'm not sure. Maybe you could explain that to me. I don't quite understand it.
Sure. In regard to the Community Development Office, we are not adding anything. We've always had 3 GIS stations and the ArcPad maintenance, which goes to the tablet. We have a portable tablet you can take into the field, and it's got, not only does it have GIS on it, it has GPS on it. So anything you do in the field, you can geo reference. In regard to the other departments, these are in engineering, I believe it is the same number of licenses. Tax assessor was going to request 2 additional licenses and then removed them. And I believe in Public Works, we have, that may be additional ones. David's not here, so I can't speak for him. I believe they were 2 additional users in Public Works, I'm sorry, and 1 additional user in engineering. Jeff could answer that for you.
There's no way of sharing this equipment?
It works through the server, through the computer server, but each individual computer that is connected to the server and has the software installed in it has to pay a licensing and maintenance fee, and that fee goes to the annual updates. We get an annual update to download the most recent software that has been created, or most of the time just upgraded by Esri, the main company. So they send it to us through email, and we download it into each individual computer. The database is on the server, though.
Okay. Pam, do you know why Public Works is going to be doing the same thing? Or, what's the application to the Public Works Department?
GIS can be useful to every single department that we have, depending on how far we advance the service. Can you address what the needs are in the DPW directly? I can't address it directly.
Yes, I through discussions with Dave, and I'm sure he can give you a better description.
You don't have to get too technical because you lose me very quickly.
No, I'll try not to. The most important thing he wants to do is start updating his the stormwater basin database. We have thousands of stormwater basins in this town, in the roadways, and he wants to be able to update that and bring it into, bring it up to date and make it a usable database that he can keep track of, because they annually clean out a certain number each year. They can't do them all, but they do them on some sort of a rotation. So I believe he wants to be able to get out there, get in the field with a GPS tool, as well as, and take down the location of each of the storm basins, put them into the computer, and then create the database that he then could manage for scheduling of cleanouts. I believe that's the primary.
Okay.
As I said, Dave's not here, so I can't
Okay.
get any more.
Thank you. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Number 6, a motion to approve the purchase of 50 replacement IPT lithium batteries from Impact Power Technologies, LLC, in the amount of $4,750.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
Discussion?
I have a question on the 50 batteries. These batteries are, they're a spare battery for each of the 50 radios that we have. Is that correct, Pam?
Yes. I predicted there would be a question on this because every place that I have worked, whenever these batteries come up, they are this expensive. And every single council I've ever worked for asks why. They cost so much, so I told the chief, be ready. And he stands here ready to tell you why, because I knew it was going to happen.
Everything is expensive. It's just whether
Yeah.
we need them or not. It's
These are
really what
very
I need.
expensive.
I really don't need to know about the cost as much as I need to know the reasons why every radio needs to have an extra battery to go along with it.
Absolutely. In 2005, we purchased all the portable radios that we're utilizing still today. This is the replacement of those, actually the second replacement of the batteries that were purchased from Motorola. This is a new technology, and yes, it is a little more expensive than the Motorola batteries, but the batteries are lighter weight and have at least a 3-year shelf life. The Motorola batteries, we've been lucky to get 2. This is the second battery for each portable we have, and it's not just each officer, but it's the portables the CSOs use in the summer. It's our spare portables we loan out during major weather events to Public Works or any of the other departments that are working with us. So it is a large expenditure, but you won't see it again for the next 3 to 4 years with the technology that the batteries have now.
Okay, we're paying for a warranty, if I remember, for 2 years or 24 months or 900 hours use. Is that the warranty that goes with that particular battery?
Yes.
Now, the process that you have in place now, the batteries that you use for the radios you have now, what do you recharge them when they need to be recharged? What kind of system how's that work?
Each officer is issued 2 batteries. So when they have a battery, their duty battery, when they're working during the shift, their spare battery is in it's called an impress charger, which is a smart charger, which will cycle the power source through the battery so it doesn't become stale like a regular NiCad battery and have a very short shelf life. So while they're on duty, they have that. The other one's charging. If the battery starts to drain or go dead while they're working, they simply change the battery out. But with these batteries, we are getting a longer hour life per officer on the batteries.
In any one shift, how many radios are in use?
Depending
25?
on how many, 5 to 6 radios.
25, would you say?
At most.
Okay.
Thank you,
All right,
Chief.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean.
All in favor?
Aye.
Stanley has a question, James.
Oh, Stanley? Oh.
We already voted, but.
now that you bring that up, Councilman Laughlin, it does seem that all 50 radios are not being used all the time. Therefore, some batteries should last longer than others. So maybe we're only using 15 or 20 radios, and therefore the batteries don't really need to be replaced because they're not really needing a charge because they're not used so often. So I would just go on carte blanche and ordering 50 because we want 50. Is there some testing that can say this battery is finally failing or has less use or is defective in some way? And these are the small issues, $4,000, $5,000, but this is what we got to zero in on, and our people have to understand that if we could get by with 20 batteries this year and maybe 30 next year, maybe we don't need all these batteries now because the existing batteries are not really dead because they haven't been used. So let's get a check on the ones we have and see if we can use them a little longer. Just prolong the use of those. It's kind of like the car thing. How long can we use it? It seems like, yeah, they're old batteries. Just because they're old or obsolete doesn't mean they're still not functional. Therefore, I want to make sure we use them to the last minute within safety concerns, of course. But thank you for bringing that up. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Do we vote on that one? We didn't, right?
Yeah, we already
voted.
We did?
You already did.
Okay. Motion carries 5-0.
Okay. Old business. 14, a motion to adopt an amendment of the zoning ordinance, Section 6, Table of Use Regulations, to provide the use 5817 expansion of legally non-conforming full-service restaurant to allow the sale of beer and wine only. Be a use allowed a special permit in the BC waterfront business zone. Do I have a motion?
So move.
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
4-0, motion carries.
Number 15, a motion to adopt an ordinance and amendment of Chapter 10, Article 3 of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Narragansett entitled Traffic Control Devices.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Number 16, new business. A motion to approve the recommendation of the Sewer Policy Committee relative to Plat NE Lots 313 and 314, 8 Canonicus Road, Plat R1 Lots 153, 153-8A, and 153-9A, Point Judith Road and Sunset Boulevard, and Plat N-S Lots 421 and 438, Richard Smith Road.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Number 17, a motion to receive and place on file a petition for sewer extension to service the area of Wandsworth Street, Turn Road, Snipe Road, Osby Road, Martin Street, Kingfisher Road, and Gull Road, and to direct the staff to investigate the installation of sanitary sewers accordingly and report back to the council.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
Discussion? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Roxanne Melchiori. As you know, there was myself and several other residents wrote a letter to the council. So I want to first say thank you for putting this on the agenda. This is something that is very important to us in our discussions. So just a quick history. Most of us live in Plat W. There are several of us that live in Plat Y. It is the area of Wandsworth Street. That plat was plotted around the 1940s. Many of our houses were built in that time or in the 1950s. Many of them have not been reconstructed or severely reconstructed, and our septics are old. Many of us are anticipating in the future having to redo the septics. And when that time comes about, because we live in an area closest to Salt Pond, those septics are quite extensive. So many of us got together and decided that perhaps it would be possible for the town to at least investigate the pure costs of what it would take to bring the sewer line down to our area. Did you have any questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Vengermish.
I'm not here to argue against sewers, but those in the town who don't have sewers, and I'm one of them, I won't get them according to the plans, do have to continually protest the fact that the true cost of the sewers are not being borne by those who hold sewers. Now, if everyone had sewers, it would make no difference. Because if the costs were here or the costs were there, it would still be the same to everybody. But this isn't true. The people who aren't on sewers are paying an unfair amount because the people on the sewer lines do not get the true cost of the sewers. And here I'm referring to OPEB and pensions, especially OPEB. This is not a true cost. It is people who aren't on sewers like myself that have to make this up. It's bad enough not being on sewers. It's bad enough that I'm paying their OPEB. And until we really get this straightened out and we get true cost of OPEB and pensions for the water, for the sewers, and for the water treatment, this is not fair to those who aren't on the system. It really is unfair.
Yes, ma'am.
Linda MacArthur, and I live on Osprey Road. And again, I too want to thank you for at least giving us this opportunity. And I just want to give you a little bit of history so you know where we're coming from. When Seaport Village was first planned and was going to be developed, one of the issues was the sewers. And it was told to us, and the plans state, that our neighborhood would be hooked up into that sewer system. And so that we were counting on that all this time. And now, of course, that's not going to happen. So here we are. And we really hope you'll let us at least look into the matter. Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Number 18, a motion to approve the request from the Parks and Recreation Department, Police Department, Fire Department, and Public Works Department to allow the only 10 signature road race walk events presently held each year in town between May 1st through September 30th, and to restrict all other new road race walkathon applications during this time frame.
I'll move this motion.
Second.
Discussion.
Well, maybe Steve could come on up and speak to this to clarify some questions. Or Pam.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Hi.
Well, basically, we've been talking about this, I think, for about a year and a half, 2 years. This is really administrative policy for the departments. What we're asking is the 10 signature road races that I've listed are annual events, road races, walkathons that are historically have happened in the town for the last 4 or 5 years. All the other races happen outside that calendar of events. So basically, what we're asking is to restrict it for that time period only. It's administrative only at this point.
So we've had the 10 that you just mentioned. They've been there for 4 or 5 years, so we wouldn't be restricting anybody. Suppose an 11th person wanted to come in and do something in the summer. They would have to then do what?
It would be a special exception, which would go before the council anyways, but what we're asking, what the departments are asking is, these races, the ones that I've listed in bold, 1 through 10, have been historically coming before us every single year, year in and year out. All the others are outside that window, you know, before the spring and after September 30th. And just so it's a little bit easier for us administratively to say, between that time period, to say we're not allowing any other events between May 1st and September 30th because of traffic congestion and concerns from neighbors and everything else that's happening here in the summer.
Yeah, but I just want to clarify. So the 11th person comes in, he says, I want to have a race in July. What do? They can't, they come before the council, or they can't have it?
Well, they all start with it in my office. What I typically do is I will send that, I vet that through Public Works, through the police department and the fire department before it even reaches the town council. I try to persuade them to go before or after the season, before it even gets here. What this would help us, all of us, do is that unless it's really a good cause and they really push the issue, I can just say, no, at this time, we're restricting anything between that time period. It's administratively for us, makes it a lot easier. And again, if they push the issue, they can come before the town council and make an exception. If there's something, and they're all you know, nonprofit good causes that come before us. It's just that on any given year, we can have anywhere between 25 to 30, even 35 road races come before us.
They all come before the council anyway, don't they?
Oh, yeah, and they all come before the council
So
anyways.
why are we taking that away from the council in setting it in stone or
Well,
as
we're not
part of
taking-
your policy or whatever,
Well, you're not
however you're
taking
describing
anything
that?
away from the council. What this does is administratively, it helps us from the department, say between this time period, that we're solidifying these 10 signature road races, which happen on an annual basis anyways.
I have a big problem with that.
I was wondering,
You're making the determination of what is important and what isn't. There could be many of them coming in that are just as important or even more important in somebody else's view. I just can't understand that concept. I know it's easier for you, it's easy for everybody, but the easy road sometimes isn't the best road, best interest of everybody.
Steve, can I just ask you, are we getting a lot of complaints from the community for those summer races? Busy, you know, people complaining? Oh, I see the chief nodding.
Well,
I'm just,
we get them through the police and fire department, public works department, and the towers committee
it's
gets
just
a lot of
inundated.
complaints,
People
yes.
are just, you know, traffic. People are kind of having difficulty with that. So, okay.
Particularly between Memorial Day and Labor Day, through those 10 weeks.
I can see it as long as if the 11th person wanted the opportunity, they still would then have it, right?
Right,
Yeah,
absolutely.
okay. I'm okay.
are the complaints documented?
Excuse
Are
me?
the complaints documented? I mean, I'm not speaking for me, but I haven't gotten any complaints. I don't know if anybody else. But I mean, usually we get complaints. I mean, that's pretty common, but I just never have gotten one on that issue.
Well, we tried to streamline the process. I mean, before I got here, the request came to the town council, to the town manager's office, to Ann's office, through the police department. So now all of the communications comes through the parks department, and so we've been trying to streamline the process. And I believe it's been working somewhat, you know, a lot easier than it has in the past. But
And nobody's charged a fee at all for those races, correct?
oh, we don't charge an
Anything.
application fee. I mean, it's been suggested, but I don't think that that's necessary at this point.
So are there other races that you've kind of turned down for that time period? I don't understand exactly.
There has been a couple in the last couple of years. There has been, and there's been a couple that come to mind in August and one in early September.
And is it fair to say that these races bring people to town and they're kind of like a potential economic generator?
Well, again, I go through the police and fire and public works department, and they have some very good reasons why. It's either conflict with other events going on in town, or again, just the nature of where the races are trying to be conducted, and you know what particular weekend they're requesting. Again, it's just so congested on any given weekend.
And not to put you on the spot, but is Narragansett, I'm assuming, is a more attractive place for these kind of races than, say, some other town? I don't know. Is that from your experience?
There's no doubt about it. In fact, the Ocean Road 10K, It started up last year, and I believe that's the October 5th weekend, and that's brand new. And at first, when they first came to town, they actually joined up with the Narragansett Historical Society for that reason, so they could get into town. That was one of the reasons why they came into town, because they wanted the Ocean Road race.
So Steve, about how many races do we have a year? Just
Well,
50, 75?
No, right now there's somewhere between 25 and 32. I mean, every year one or two drop out, and we get an additional couple of 3 to 4. It changes from year to year.
The list you provided, Steve, has the 10 that are the kind of the long-standing races for the summer. I mean, NRPA, the ADA, Katie D. Cabela's, St. Thomas More, Blessing of the Fleet, Bobby Doyle, 5K Road Race for Autism, Fernman Triathlon, Why Not Try, Narragansett Back on Track. I'm wondering if, because I'm sensing concern from council members, I'm wondering if maybe these should be just consent agenda items year to year, and then maybe when Susan talks about the 11th and the 12th, that those maybe go on the regular, because maybe that would be a way to handle this instead of this, but I don't know.
They're all on consent agenda.
Right. The ones that are long-standing should be on the consent agenda, right? Like those 10 that we just read off, but the new ones that, like Susan's saying, that 11th and 12th person, because maybe have them come on the regular agenda.
I mean,
Steve, all of them don't have, I'm sorry.
Right, I mean, that would kind of address the issue. I don't know,
I think
maybe I'm
Steve
wrong.
wants to do more. You want to handle it before it gets here.
Well, what I'm saying is these 10 that are listed have, these what we call the signature races. These are here every single year, and they're for the last, at least since I've been here, and I think a lot earlier, the Furman has been like for the last 17 years. And obviously, Katie Duke-Cabellis and American Diabetes and the Bobby Doyle, they've been here for many, many years, and I can't see them not being here so that's why they're called the signature road races or signature events.
But all of these events don't have the same impact on the town.
No,
I mean, they're not all equal.
They're all a little bit different.
Yeah, some are just sidewalk events or breakdown lane events, that kind of thing. Some of the things I've seen.
Exactly.
So they don't all have the same impact. So I really have a problem restricting it like that. I really do. It doesn't seem to be fair.
I agree with Doug.
I'm kind of fine with it. I mean, I love having the races, but I think in the summertime it gets kind of crazy with getting out of, driveways and trying to go down Ocean Road. So I don't know. I'm okay with it, but.
Okay.
Thanks, Steve. Any further discussion? Mr. Wojciechowski?
Did I hear right in that nobody pays a fee for these races?
They're mostly charities.
So the taxpayer is bearing the burden of all the extra police and fire and highway and all that? Is that?
Their organizations too, right?
They all pay for those expenses, right? Okay. If they're paying their way, again, this is no different than the beach rentals, I mean, how much activity, we want economic development, but then you say you don't want it. Do you want it or do you? Do you want beach rentals? Do you want races or don't you? This town can only survive if we have these activities, which we draw. Like he says, tourism and all this. So yes, we do have to make a decision on that. But we should be careful not to pick and choose too carefully. Again, I understand the beach rental issue, but now that's a keg issue. It's not a beach rental issue. I think more important on these things is the kegs of beer that might be out there to cause disruption. Regular races and that kind of thing is not even there's beach rental is not bad. But when there's a keg of beer out there being distributed, now we got problems. So as long as there's no keg of beer with the races or with the beach rentals, now we're okay. All right? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Beck.
Just to touch on what Stan was talking about, that's what I said also earlier about what we talk about the URI kids and stuff. What happens during the summer, Narragansett does get crazy with a lot of the road races. But what Stan was just talking about, what people pay for. I'm very involved with the Lions Club and on the board and stuff. We pay Narragansett Police and with South Kingston Police when we do the road race for the Blessing. It's about $12,000 to have the police to do our road race. So Stanley, we do pay the police department quite a bit of money to take care of that. So Dean will verify that.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 3-2. Number 19, a motion to approve the fee schedule of $700 to lease one guaranteed numbered parking space in the Cabana lot and one beach pass to the principal lessee of destroyed Cabana units 31A through 42B for the 2014 beach season only.
I'll move this motion.
Second.
Discussion.
Well, we're not rebuilding the cabanas, so for me, I can support giving them a spot, those cabana holders, for another season, so I support this.
I think that that little parking lot has not been open to anyone but cabana owners or holders for 50 or 60 years, and it's time to let some other people in. So I think that a family or some other people who want to get to that spot and make that short walk to the beach, they should have the opportunity. And so I am not in favor of the one-year guaranteed lease for parking spots.
And I agree. I guess the whole purpose of having the parking places in the first place was for the people who own the cabanas there on the beach. The cabanas are not there anymore, so I don't see why we should offer that opportunity to anybody in our community, that $700 to have their own personal private parking place there. I mean, I am sad about the fact that we lost the cabanas, but that's behind us now, and I think it's time for a change there, and I can't support passing out privileged parking places down at the beach, especially if you're going to think that way. Maybe you should make it available to everybody in the town.
I agree with Doug and James.
I just think it's an opportunity for us to raise the revenue one-year thing where these people didn't have the expectation of a cabana. We've been through that discussion. Now it's like we're foregoing more revenue. It just seems, it seems somewhat short-sighted, but it'd be a one-year thing that we'd be doing to gain that revenue. And these people, it's not, they know the cabanas aren't being rebuilt, so it's not like they're in some waiting list, but they were kind of expecting to have something this summer. There's an expectation interest there. That I think they had. So, that's how I feel about it. I thought there was a general consensus that we wanted something from Mark and Steve on this so it's kind of surprising that we wouldn't extend this for at least 1 year for these people, because otherwise we should have just let it wither on the vine.
Well, I think that at the last discussion, it was raised and it was sort of put off. That was I think Mr. Brady raised an issue and we sort of continued this, and then it came up again just to finalize it either way. I think that's how it progressed.
The instruction was to give us an idea for what we should do, because we were ready to just do what we had done last summer, which was the 500 and the 6 passes, right? 500 with the 6 passes, Steve? Yeah. So now it's a much watered down version, still an opportunity for the town to get a little more revenue, and that these people for one more season had they had an expectation that they would have something. So,
other than the revenue, Matt, what I don't understand, maybe you can explain it to me. What's the purpose of doing that? Forget about the $700 for a minute. What's the purpose of supplying them with a parking space, a privileged parking space? What's the purpose of that?
Because all those years they had always been able to go to their cabana, and now we've had the storm, and last year we in expectation of rebuilding the cabanas, we said, here's where we're going to give you 500 plus a handful of passes. And then this season we're saying, well, we know we're not rebuilding, but for one more summer, because people kind of make plans and have a certain expectation as a resident of the town of what they're going to have, and everyone has different things. So that's my rationale for it.
The only difference here is that they would park in the regular parking lot with everybody else. if they decided to go to the beach or not go to the beach. That'd be the decision. It just doesn't make any sense to me why we would extend that to them. It just doesn't make any sense at all to me, and still doesn't.
Because they had that interest, and we are getting a little extra revenue for the
They
town.
don't have it anymore. They don't have the interest.
Right, but coming into this season, I think everyone was a little surprised that we didn't rebuild. I think they were
so it
especially
was-
surprised, right?
that's
So
right.
that's the rationale.
I agree with you, that's how I see it. It was the expectation, and then we didn't rebuild, and so here we are.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Rogers? You could come up, please.
If you vote no on this, James, what's the alternative to do with the spaces? Just curious.
I would assume that they'd be open to the public. I know it's probably a administrative difficulty for Mr. Wright and his staff, but I have full confidence in their ability to make that happen.
So it would just be an open lot?
Well, part of it. I think there's reserved spots for the 64 who still have their cabanas, and then if a family wants to come down and they have their stuff and they're dragging their pails and their shovels and their beach chairs, they have a nice spot about 10 feet from the beach that they've never had before. So it's an opportunity. Mr. Alba?
Al Alba, I can't understand, why aren't we building the cabanas?
I can't understand that. Why aren't we rebuilding the cabanas?
Oh, Al, you may have missed the wintry meetings where we discussed that. I think you maybe weren't here. You were probably enjoying Christmas, New Year's. But no, it was voted down on a 3-2 vote to rebuild the cabana.
Voted down.
Yes.
I don't know, as a realtor, to me, it should be a no-lose situation. You get rent money from it. They go
agree.
along.
I
They
agree.
go a long way in this. People want them. So I think we should build them.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Motion fails 3-2.
Thank you, Matt.
Number 20, a motion to approve the 2014 Middlebridge Marina rental slip rates at $650 per full slip and $475 for a side slip, which reflects no changes from the 2013 season.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
I have a question. How do we arrive at that 650? Do we have a discussion on that?
That was last year's fee. There's no changes from the 2013 season.
Yeah, but is there a reason why there wasn't any change? I think there was a,
Steve, do you want to address that, please? I wasn't here, so I'm
we
going to
may have talked about it, Steve, I just don't remember. That's why I'm asking the question.
It's actually a good question.
Thanks.
We actually we reviewed that, and we were actually looking to see if we could increase that by a little bit. But when we looked at the existing marinas in the area, Metatuxet and the Stove Cove Marina, the amenities they offer and the size of the slips that they offer, we're actually just a little bit higher or equal, and they're not increasing their rates this year. So based on that information, we thought it was, at least for this year, keep our rates the same, and we actually talked, I believe we talked about that at the last workshop also. So we're recommending to keep them the same. Obviously, you can increase them by $50 if you think it's wise to do that.
The question I have is, I think the other marinas in the pond, I think, what do they get, about $100 a foot or more?
Well, it's
And this one comes down to what, $45 a foot?
It's $115 per foot for Stone Cove Marina, and Metatuxet is, they have two different rates, but they're not having an increase, and their rates are equal or better, but also they're providing extra amenities where we're not providing any amenities, and also our slips are 20 feet and less. So, and the only thing we have are a couple of porta johns at our marina. So if you take a look at what we're offering there, I just didn't see where we could increase. And again, if it was going to be an increase, I was thinking maybe $50 at this point. But I thought at least for 2014, leave it the same and then go back at it for next year.
And we may want to take a look at it again because that price seems very low to me. $650 seems to be very low for a slip, 20-foot slip.
Well, again,
There's
comparing
nowhere
it to,
else you can go anywhere that I know of where you can. Metatuxet is somewhat different, isn't it? Isn't that like a private club?
well, it's
Is that what
comparable
it
to
is?
their rates. I checked them again
You know
today
that?
before I came tonight.
You what?
I checked the rates at Metatuxet today to make sure they were comparable, and they are. So,
To your rates?
yes.
Yeah. But I think it's a different setup than Stone Cove or Ram Point or those types of
Well,
facilities.
usually you do it by feet, what Steve described, but down here, there's both that are 20 feet and lower in length. So you have less of a demand than you have in other harbors. And so
I
the
don't know
flat
about
rate.
that.
Well, you
There
do,
was a
because
waiting list there, wasn't
the
there?
wait list has only got like 8 or 9 people on it.
And the draft getting in there is tough. It's tougher getting in the shallow
All right,
draft.
okay.
It's just the restrictions are tough
All right.
going into that marina. So,
Sorry, I didn't understand it, that's why.
Thank you, Steve.
okay.
Mr. Wright? Mr. Wojciechowski?
I think we're running a deficit down there a little bit on that situation. Therefore, I think we just have to increase the rates. We've got to do that, and we've got to test it. Not guess at it, test it. Get it out there, and if we don't have enough residents sign up, then we got to open it up for economics reasons. We can't be good guys, residents only. This has got to go out to everyone to get the maximum price possible. And I suggest at least a 50% increase in rates and see what you get. That's how we do it in America. You put a price out there and see what you get. See if people come. I think somebody just told me that this is closer to the ocean than the others. And then Metatuxet is only open to people in Metatuxet. Therefore, there's a smaller group of people who are vying for those positions. So they're artificially too low based on who can go out there. They don't have maybe 5,000 people that might want to do this if you put in that in the paper. So I'm saying that this is it's not $50, not $50. You know, I would like to see it double. I mean, people who have boats out there, they would value this, and they'd value it more at a higher price. You have to increase it by 2 and see if you get no takers, then you modify the thing. But you double these, huh? You got a 1,300 and 900, and you give it a shot and see what goes. And the very least could happen is if you double it and get half as many people, you're getting the same amount for less traffic. So I mean, there's not a lose situation here. So we could do better by having less congestion, getting the same amount by doubling the fees. So we got to start using economics a little better here in our choices, and just like parents, you know, you just want to be too good to everyone. Eventually, you have to make it economic sense. You know, I know you all want to give somebody something or make it too easy for them. They got to pay for what it's worth, and the only way to find that out is to put a number out there. Double this, see what the number is, see what you get.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Number 21, a motion to introduce, read, and accept as a first reading an ordinance and amendment of Chapter 74 of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Narragansett, Rhode Island, entitled Traffic and Vehicles. A motion to introduce, read, pass, and accept as a first reading a resolution amending the official list of parking restrictions and regulations in the Town of Narragansett in accordance with the Narragansett Code of Ordinances.
Move that
Mr.
motion.
President.
Second.
Mr. McLaughlin.
I'd like to table this to the next meeting because we definitely need some more information on this. If we could do that.
I withdraw my second. Susan,
Okay,
withdraw your motion.
I'll withdraw mine as well.
Could we table it to the next,
Sorry.
the next council meeting?
Motion to continue item number 21.
I'll make that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Number 22, a motion to appoint John Kaufman to the Conservation Commission for a 3-year term, which will expire on April 30th, 2016.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Number 23, a motion to approve the independent contractor agreement between the Town of Narragansett and former Finance Director Donald Goodrich after review by the town solicitor.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And number 24, a motion to approve payment of $4,022.88 as reimbursement for medical expenses to James Legari.
I'll move that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everyone. Thank you for coming. Drive safe.